Good evening and welcome to tonight's broadcast of New Logical Sports. Today we're having not a soccer game, but rather a special Q&A session. As you guys may know, U.S. adult soccer is having presidential elections at the end of the month. And for those who are not familiar with U.S. adult soccer, it's essentially the pre-professional arm of U.S. soccer underneath the U.S. the Adult Soccer Council. And if you still don't understand what that means, basically, if you're a fan of the U.S. Soccer Federation, U.S. Soccer Federation covers the national team and oversees pretty much all of U.S. soccer, but in a lot of ways they like to focus on the professional soccer wing and the U.S. Open Cup. U.S. adult soccer was chartered in the early 80s to specifically tackle the amateur wing of U.S. soccer, and that includes folks in many of the regional leagues and local state leagues that you may or may not have played in, especially if you like playing soccer or following soccer. And a lot of ways it's the grassroots of American soccer. It goes back 100 plus years. Many teams have made so much history in U.S. soccer that it's why it's so important. And of course here, Fritz, he's actually the current vice president of U.S. adult soccer, and he's running for president. So, Fritz, let's just start off by introducing yourself and a bit of your background.
Sure. Thank you, Patrick. Is this word?
Yes.
Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for having me here, and I want to thank our co-hosts, the Cosmopolitan Soccer League and the Heritage Bar and Restaurant, the official bar and restaurant of Lansdowne Yonkers FC, two-time national amateur championship. A little bit on my background. I've been involved in soccer all my life. I played youth soccer. I was a referee. I was a coach. I've been an administrator at the local, the club, the regional level, and now I'm vice president of USASA. For those more interested, you can go to the USASA website and read the Hall of Fame program page. I will be inducted into the Hall of Fame, and there's a biography of my soccer history. You can go to my LinkedIn page. You can see my professional history. So I really don't want to bore everybody with that. I think most of the people watching probably know me.
Oh yeah, and I also want to reinforce that unlike other types of politics out there, this is a very friendly affair. Everyone is kind of friends with each other. We all have their regional tournaments, national tournaments. We work on this project together. Many of us have day jobs, and we just we have a lot of fun. We run all these national tournaments, and we go out and eat and hang out with each other. It's a very friendly organization, but of course there's a lot of serious aspects to this. This is an organization that raises plenty of registration fees, manages how many different teams and players would you say?
Well, we have about 220,000 registered players in USASA right now.
Yeah, so when you look at the statistics about U.S. soccer, a lot of it actually stems from the registrations within U.S. adult soccer, and it's actually really the backbone of soccer in this country, and it's really pivotal to the growth that we're going to see moving forward in the near future, especially with the U.S. and, of course, Canada and Mexico hosting the World Cup in 2026. But let's start with the first question from me directly, is how do you think this current administration did?
I think this current administration has done okay. John's been around for 10 years. He's done a good job. I'm not running against John, and I'm not running because John didn't do a good job. The reason I'm running is because I love this organization, and we're at a point in time where we need somebody new in there. John isn't running, so I'm not running against him. But it's like any organization, Patrick. When you have somebody in the organization for too long, I wouldn't say too long, that's probably the right word. When you have somebody in it for a long time, you need to make a change because everybody brings their own toolbox to the job. And you can use that toolbox for a while, but after a while, you need a new set of tools. And that's, how I look at this.
Yeah. Of course, the U.S. adult soccer is involved in so many things. The main responsibility that they have nowadays, I would say, would be the National Amateur Cup and U.S. Open Cup qualifying. And many of the teams across the country, at the local level, I mean, we're here in Yonkers right now, and full disclosure, I'm 100% connected with Lansdowne Yonkers FC. This is, like you said, it's the official home bar of Lansdowne Yonkers FC. We have a lot of events here, and winning the National Amateur Cup is one of the most important things to us. And actually, one of the things I found really impressive this past year, to be purely honest, is I will say I wasn't that impressed with the marketing, but I was really impressed with the organization of the national finals tournament itself, especially for the National Amateur Cup. There was good broadcasting, and I say this as a person that has dealt with a lot of broadcasting. What role did you have in that?
Well, I had the same role as most of the board of directors had in it. I happened to be the liaison to the Cups Committee also. But we really had a Cups Committee and our national staff who ran the national Cups, who coordinated with the host club, DeKalb United, who set up the facilities for us. So it's really the Cups Committee and our national staff who did most of the work. We were there overseeing it, getting involved when we needed to, spending a little too much time on the Cups than we should have. But really, I got to give credit to our National Cups Committee, Richard Groff, who is head of that, and to Bruce Bodie, our director.
Now, on one end, we last year, 2023, not counting 2024, but in 2023, we went through the experiment of merging all of the national tournaments, national finals, into one big weekend. And for some reason, this year, it went back to the separate tournaments, because in previous years you'd have the events for the National Amateur Cup, men and women's, in Chicago or Milwaukee or whatever city you select, and then there would always be like a separate tournament of regions where it would be in Michigan or Tennessee. Why is it like that, and how would you change that?
Well, that brings up a good point, and something I was going to bring up later in general in what I plan to do, at least in the first month or so, hopefully if I'm in office. But the Cups and all our competitions, be that the Tournament of Regions, the National Amateur Cup, our soccer festival, formerly called the Veterans Cup, we're going to reevaluate how we run all of those programs. We're going to take a look. Does it make sense to run them together? For example, having the Over 30 Cup and the Over 40 Cup, if we have Over 40 Cup and a Tournament of Regions, does it make sense from an economic point of view and a resource point of view to have them at the same place? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. That's what we're going to look at. We're also going to look at making sure that our competitions are themselves not in competition with each other. There's always an argument, what defines a national champion, and is the Veterans Cup a national championship, and is the Over 40 Cup a national championship? These are sort of I'll call them the housekeeping items that I really want to address in the first month in office, because this is something the board has a lot more important things to deal with, so this is something we want to get out of the way really quickly. And I'll say this, we're going to make all of our competitions, whatever they are, we're going to do our best to make them the best they can be. But we're going to reevaluate each one when it's all said and done, and to see how we can make it better and assess the viability of each one.
Oh, 100%, and I'll definitely be following the entire way. I think if you're watching these videos or you're a follower of U.S. adult soccer, you're usually like a really big soccer fanatic like myself. I mean, to explain my background in all of this, I've been following soccer for as long as I can remember. I really thank my father for that. I've been following the U.S. Open Cup since I was just about 3 years old. I remember attending multiple Open Cup semifinals in the late 90s when they would be in Bakersfield, and there's always like a special feeling to all of that, and it brings up another big question. There's been a lot of controversy with U.S. Open Cup, and of course U.S. adult soccer plays a big role in that, because I think we're in charge of the Open qualifying process. Is that correct?
No. The U.S. Open Cup is completely, at this point, run by the Federation.
Not even the Open qualifying?
Even the qualifiers at the amateur level, they're organized by the U.S. Soccer Federation. So.
But I guess it still brings the question, and maybe more of a stance thing, because it'll lead into another question that we have later, is, of course, Major League Soccer has been pushing against U.S. Open Cup, saying that it's not as great of a marketed product, and they've been looking to sort of withdraw from the tournament. This year they came to an agreement. They took the top 8 clubs not in the... No. Sorry about that. Someone almost ran in front of the camera. The top 8 MLS clubs not already qualified for the CONCACAF Champions League. Do you believe in all teams, even Major League Soccer teams, competing in the Open Cup?
I'm going to be a little controversial here, Patrick. I hope that the bells and whistles don't go off and they take me out of here in a straitjacket. But I'm not necessarily sold on the idea of having every single MLS team participate in the Open Cup. Primarily because I want to see the teams who are really interested in the Cup participate in the Cup, much like our U.S. Amateur Cup. So I don't want some team to just go through the motions, send their second or third string players just because they have to, they have to check the box that they're in it. I want to see quality teams in it, and I want to see teams who are interested in it so we can make it a really good Cups competition.
Okay, all right, fair point. I mean, we've seen a lot of tournaments where teams were really half-hearted in being in it, and sometimes they just send not even the B team, like the Z team, and they'll put an awful show, and it's not really entertaining to the folks watching. So I can understand that. But let's bring it down to the U.S. Amateur. USASA Amateur Cup level. Sometimes you have teams that will, because of course the national tournaments will be in cities very far away. I remember a couple years back, it was I think it was LA Strikers or one of those clubs from LA. They had to have a GoFundMe to travel over because they felt that the subsidies were not enough. What do you plan on doing in terms of helping the subsidies for travel to going to these national tournaments, since of course we're such a massive country, coming from certain regions may be an issue? Or do you think that this is something that should be passed down to the regions to come up with their own fundraising? Like, how would you handle that?
Okay, so for the first time this year, Patrick, we have essentially a balanced Cups budget. If you look at the direct revenue stream between the sponsorships that we expect to have based on the last 2 years, and you look at the revenue generated by the $2 Premier Player surcharge for our registration of players, which comes to about another $70,000, we have an income stream of probably if my math is right, probably about $130,000. Expenses right now, I think, are about $94,000. So not only do we have the Cups that are self-funded, we actually have a Cups program that is running a surplus. Now, as far as subsidy goes, I'll tell you this, I think we need to help some of the teams, but I'm not sold on every team gets everything paid for. This year we made some exceptions because it was the 100th anniversary, but that's not sustainable in the long run. And teams who want to participate, I understand it costs money, but there has to be a little skin in the game. Right now we're fortunate that we can afford to give some travel subsidy and have a little surplus left over. But like I say, I think each team needs to put a little bit in too.
Okay, well, like I said, that's your stance on it. I think that's fair. I think because one of the big things that a lot of clubs just always ask for, and I guess it's something that maybe just on a homework level, it's like something you should really plan out for the time moving forward. But yeah, like you said, there's already existing travel subsidies and usually just fundraising to get there as part of the game. Another question I have is I also play rugby, and in our system, in the USA Rugby, they actually have a unified registration system. Now, I know a lot of state associations have a registration system, but do you believe in a unified U.S. adult soccer registration system where everybody's kind of put in the same database and kept on track so that different clubs across the entire nation can monitor?
Patrick, if I had a magic wand, that would already have happened. Unfortunately, I don't have a magic wand. We have a lot of state associations who put a lot of effort and a lot of money in some cases into their own registration system. We have a nationwide registration system that is, I wish I could say it was available for everybody who wants to use it. This is obviously something I want to tackle because there's states out there who want to use it, who at this point still can't use it. We spent a lot of time on it, we spent a lot of money on it, and it's still not where it needs to be as far as the expanse of it goes. That to me is unacceptable for an organization like ours. So, and the system that we have allows for individual states to use their system, should they prefer, and upload to that system so that, yes, we will, in our national office, have a database of hopefully all 220,000 players that we have in one system.
Okay. Another question I have for you is, when U.S. Adult Soccer was founded, it was looked at least from what I read, as someone who always looks up stuff in U.S. Soccer, to be the official amateur wing of U.S. Soccer. However, it seems like, especially in recent years, a lot of amateur leagues and associations out there can establish themselves and not affiliate with U.S. Adult Soccer at all. And it just seems like we're, as an official wing of U.S. Soccer, we're competing with other amateur wings of U.S. Soccer, or whatever you want to call them, and it seems like we're kind of tearing each other apart in a lot of ways. I mean, how do we tackle that, or what do you propose that we do to make U.S. adult soccer the official amateur wing of U.S. soccer?
All right. Well, let's look at some statistics. U.S. adult soccer, has some challenges. One of our challenges is membership growth or lack thereof. We're pretty much stagnant, although this year we had a nice uptick. One of the problems we have between U.S. adult soccer and our direct competitors, the UPSL and USSSA, we're essentially fighting for the same 260,000 or so players. We're fighting for the standard 11 v11, usually Sunday afternoon players, and we've said that market. We've picked all that fruit. My understanding from what I've been told, and I have no reason to doubt it, there are over 3 million adult soccer players out there, playing rec soccer, pub league soccer, church league soccer, playing unconventional soccer, beach soccer, and any other form of rec soccer. 3 million of them, okay? While we're focused on the 20,000 players that may have gone to UPSL, there's 3 million that we're not focusing on, and that's what we need to do. We need to grow our membership by growing the base of players and by going after those unconventional players. Now, that's easier said than done, right? Because on a lot of these leagues, on a pub league, if Jack can't make it to the game one day, he'll call up his sister Jill and say, hey, you take my place on the team. Our registration system, in most cases, isn't set up to handle somebody just coming in on the fly. But with the technology we have, with cell phone technology, we can do registration on the fly, believe it or not. And there's state associations out there that I've talked to who actually have a system like that. And that's what we have to embrace, these novel ways of registering players so that when Jill goes out there, she can get on her phone, pay her $5 or whatever it may be for a tournament pass or a one-day pass, and play that game and be a registered player with USASA. And we get the numbers, they're insured, and our player base grows. Now, not every state association or every organization that we have in USASA can do that. Because not all of them have the financial wherewithal to set up a system like that, nor do they have the resources. Small states don't have an IT person on their staff. That's where USASA, as a member service organization, has to come in and help them, be it with a little funding, be it with the right expertise to do that. But that's how we're going to grow, because that is our big challenge. Our big challenge is growth. But I'll say this: that's just one of our many challenges that I'm hoping to tackle, and this is just one way. To focus on those 3 million players more so than we do about the 20,000 who are ping-ponging back and forth between the alphabet soup of adult organizations.
And actually, it's good that you mentioned that you believe that U.S. adult soccer is a member service organization. And I know that there's a sort of like there's a full-time staff of some sort, and it's based out in Chicago. Well, not really Chicago. I think it's in Bridgeview. And I know that there's the executive director, and I shout out to Bruce if you're watching. Love what you're doing. Great, keep up the good work. But just pointing out I'm really not sure what the current full-time staff do, and what would you do with staffing to make it more useful towards assisting the affiliated associations and leagues?
All right, so you gave me a good segue here, and I'm gonna monopolize the conversation for just a little bit because you bring that up, and that's a very, very important point. Okay, and I don't think I mentioned it before. One of the things going forward, should I be elected, I have what I'll call, and I don't think I brought this up before, the housekeeping issues that I want to address. Okay, there are 3 fundamental issues that I want to address that go to another core challenge that we have at USASA, where our membership thinks the board and the staff are not responsive, not communicating, talking to people. One person used the term clueless. So that's a big perception problem, and we got to clear that up. And it's a perception problem, and in some cases where there's a reality, we have to clear that up too. So going back to staff, one of the 3 areas that I want to tackle, what I'll call the October initiatives, and I'm going to have one person from the executive committee, like I say, should I win this position, assigned to each of these, and the one is what I'll call operations. What we're going to do is we're going to know what everybody on our staff does, where they're working, when they're working, and who and what their role is when people reach out, that they get to the right person. We're going to make sure that that office, and I say office, that's a euphemism, because they're spread all over the country, really. We have people in Chicago. We have one person in Italy, believe it or not, okay? There's a lot of remote workers. We want to make sure that office is synchronized and working like a well-oiled machine, as if everybody were in the office. So we're going to take care of that on the operations side, and we're going to take care of financial responsibility, reporting and recording, and put processes in place for timely financial reporting, recording, and communication. Communication within the organization, within the board, within the staff, but communication to our members. So that's one. That's the operations. Number two, we're going to take a look at our competitions, as I said before. We're going to make sure that our competitions are not competing with each other. We're going to make sure they're all viable. We're going to make sure everybody knows what is and what is not a national championship. And we're going to give the control of those competitions back to the committees, back to the volunteer base. And have the people with the passion for the those competitions run those competitions. And finally, we're going to take care of responsiveness, because this goes sort of hand in hand with the operations. We had issues this year where policies that should have been reviewed in the spring didn't get reviewed until literally 2-3 weeks ago, Patrick. We had appeals that should have been handled, again, in the late spring, early summer. We handled them about 4 weeks ago. We have people who want to use our registration system. They say, Fritz, what's going on with the registration system, when I call them? I said, I wish I could tell you why it's not up. So that's the other thing, responsiveness. And we're going to handle that, and we're going to do that in October. And like I said, it's almost like clearing up the clutter when you clean your house. It's not that hard of a job. But it makes everything look so much better right off the bat, before you do your dusting, before you do anything. We're going to clear the clutter. We're going to address those issues in October, because we can. Then we're going to move on and address the really big issues.
That's a loaded answer.
I told you I was going to monopolize this answer.
So we're going to do a couple more centrally based questions, and we definitely want to encourage, because we definitely see a good audience in here. There's almost, between the two platforms, we definitely have over 30 people watching, and I really want to thank you guys for tuning in. And of course, I know a lot of you, I think somebody in Region 3 or 4 had mentioned that they're having a meeting tonight that they're going to be watching tomorrow. So if you're watching later on in this aspect, thank you for tuning in. I encourage everybody to go onto the form that we had submitted on the social media of our accounts to submit some pre-written questions. We have a few written there. We also have a call-in number, which we're not accepting the calls right now, but we definitely encourage you to call the number on the bottom left of your screen, 929-436-2866. The meeting ID, because it's a Zoom call, is 868-9633-4511, and the passcode, which you're going to have to type in twice, is 620888. We do that so that we can kind of screen anybody. You just just to make sure that you're real, not some sort of robot. But we'll look forward to your questions. We highly encourage them. But let's just wrap it up with a couple more questions from me directly. I think to mention the promotion of U.S. adult soccer, and I think part of the things that people look forward to is following the matches. I definitely think that once the regional tournaments came around for an amateur cup, the social media did improve. I think the best region for promoting amateur cup when it comes around is Region 1. Shout out to Tony Falcone. I think you do a great job with that, and I really want to bring that energy to the other regions. But overall, I do think that the National Amateur Cup, the keeping up to date with the scores and the records and all that stuff, was a great improvement this year. But what do you suggest, or what do you plan to do to promote the U.S. adult soccer year-round, not just Adult Soccer Fest, not just national tournaments, but just the affiliated leagues and state associations, so that people following soccer know that these events are going on?
Well, Patrick, you mentioned the events and stuff. I just want to say what we can't lose sight of is there's so much more to U.S. adult soccer than just our competitions, okay? We have we have workshops all across the country, including what's coming up at our AGM, and I think people lose sight of some of the other things we do, and I think one of the things, it's a big plus, it's a big advantage that we have. We have qualified people running different programs. The one downside we have is we have people who are very passionate about certain programs, and the people who are the most passionate about certain programs are very dismissive of other programs. And that really has to end in this organization, because every program has a value to certain members. So, I mentioned the workshops. I was at the Region 4 workshops for the last 2 years, and then once before, maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Every time I was there, Patrick, I learned something, and I took something away that I use sometimes in my daily life. Like, it could be something stupid, like when you're at a meeting, you don't put your phone on the table because it gives the impression that you're not paying attention, to something important like like AI. And things like that. So these are very important. So for those people, I'll say to those people who are dismissive of some of these things, listen, Region 4 is having their workshops in January. So I don't want to get in trouble for this, but I'm going to send out, I'm giving an invitation to everybody in the other regions. Send somebody to those Region 4 workshops. Let them come back and let them tell you what the value of that is. And on the flip side, for those states that don't participate in the cups or who are dismissive of the cups, send somebody, or go yourself. Go to the Region 1 Cup Finals on Father's Day weekend at the Ukrainian Nationals, where we have the big picnic and everything. Go to the Region 3 Cup Finals. Go to Region 2 to their Tournament of Champions, which unfortunately they couldn't run last year. I hope they run it this year. And you'll go there and you'll be impressed, and you'll say, wow, this is something that's really, really important to certain members, and it's a really good program. So we can't be dismissive of one program just because we're more supportive of another. We have to support all our programs. I look at it like belonging to a country club almost, right? You got the golf, you got the tennis, you got the swimming. Some people love the pool, they'll never use the tennis court. Some people love the tennis courts, they'll never use the pool. But there's something there for everybody, and the pool is just as important as the tennis courts.
Okay, and just one more final question before we wrap things up. I guess. Yeah, social media is a big game. I mean, and you did mention technology. It's just like and people are always looking for a club, and a lot of youth associations, the players age out of their youth academy teams, and they're looking for a team to play. How do we help the general public find a local club to play in, especially if it's a U.S. adult soccer affiliated member?
We need to do a lot better job of marketing and public relations. We mentioned the UPSL, which is one of our competitors, right? We have 10 times as many players as they do. They have about 20,000. We have 220,000 right now. 10 times as many players. They have about 75,000 people following their Facebook or their Instagram page. 75,000 followers. We have 4,700. They have 20 times more people following them on social media, even though we have 10 times more players. Something's not right there. Because what we need to have people, when they want to play soccer, when people say I want to play soccer, they look at adult soccer near me, they've got to find us. More importantly, they have to find our local presence, our state association, our leagues. Now, in Germany, you want to find a team in your area, the German Federation, on their website, you can find a team, you can find any local team in the smallest town, it'll tell you the nearest local team. Now, we can't do that here, for one reason, the size. Number two, we don't track everything by team. But what we can certainly do is have a database of leagues and state associations. So when somebody says, I want to find a state association or I want to find a league where I can play in, that they can go to our website and find it. And we can advertise that through social media. And I'll be the first to admit, social media, we haven't done a good job on social media. We have to do better. We see the UPSL, they're doing terrific, okay? So I'd like us to be as good as they are, not just having 10 times more players, then we should have at least 10 times more followers.
That's a very good answer. So yeah, like I said, we're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna throw some commercials because my stuff have that. I do want to thank the sponsors to Do Logical in that sense that allows me to have commercial breaks. But I just want to remind everybody, we do have that form on Google Docs where you could submit pre-written questions. We're gonna review that, of course, as we go into the next segment. But we also will allow people to call in. The call-in number is actually on the bottom left. I'm not gonna restate it because it takes too long. But just read it down on the bottom left. Call that number, and if we know you're legit, you'll be able to talk in the air and ask a nice question, and we'll answer it right on the spot. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. But we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back in a couple minutes.
Yes, on the man on the back post, and there's the goal. There's the goal. And now he's through, it's a goal. It's a goal for Westmeath.
He's got plenty of space. Nice cut. He gets around the keeper. That's just beautiful. Beautiful.
Alfaro could be in here on his left leg. Alfaro! Oh my goodness, it's a goal!
You don't have to keep saying, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not computer literate. We work to make sure that the only thing you'll have to say is, it works. Mendez, go for the cross! What a goal! What a goal from Mendez!
Go! And speed! Go back.
And speed, baby. Oh. Where is this game? Beckham.
Buddy, I'm telling
Welcome back, everybody. Hope you guys got your quick bathroom break, because of course in we said this event was going to take about 30 minutes, but of course we're going over, and I think we had a lot of important questions to cover. First of all, I want to thank the 50-plus people watching across all platforms. We really appreciate the turnout on this thing. It really shows the interest level in U.S. adult soccer and the vested interest in seeing this grow forward. So we're just looking at the submitted questions by people who were following it, and of course we have the phone number to call in, which is on the bottom left. So let's start with the questions that were submitted online. We didn't require people to necessarily submit their names, but if they did submit their name, we will definitely mention them. So, okay, so the first one comes from an anonymous person. And the question is, U.S. adult soccer has a very large cash reserve. Why isn't the regional support money higher?
That's a good question. You got me in trouble with this one. We didn't increase the regional support money this year. Right now, we have about, apart from our insurance reserve, I think we have about $2 million in reserve. What we want to do before we start releasing additional monies, we need to take a hard look at how much money we should have in reserves and how much and what we need to do with that money. And what I mean by that is, with $2 million in reserves, if we can put it in an interest-bearing account, say we make good interest at 5%, and I'm not a money manager, so I'm just picking that number because it's easy to work with. That gives us an income stream of $100,000 a year. Now, we might say, hey, let's put that money in an interest-bearing account for 5% and use that $100,000 a year and live off of that, use that as part of our general revenue, or just keep adding to the reserve until we get to a point where we're generating revenue from that reserve at the point where we want. Maybe that's $200,000. I don't know. We may want to say, look, we were going to engage a professional and we're going to have them tell us, an organization like ours, what's a good reserve to have? And obviously it depends what we want to do with it. And they might say, well, listen, just, all else being equal, you might want $1 million reserve. Then we have to figure out, okay, do we want to take that extra $1 million and do we want to start using that to pay for some of our programs, to make our organization better? That's our call then. And how do we do that? Or do we want to, like I said before, just put that in an investment account? This is something what we need to look at over the course of the next year. This is, apart from my short-term goals, the October goals, this is one of my longer-term goals, that we put together a finance committee or investment committee or whatever name we want to call it. I'll call it the money committee, right? We're going to put the money committee together, and we're going to figure out what we want to do and what we should be doing with that money. But until we do, we're going to be pretty conservative, and we're going to hold on to that money. We already have a deficit budget, and we're going to hold on to that money right now. We think that's the most prudent thing to do. The board thinks that. Obviously, at the end of the day, the National Council will decide what happens with our money. They ultimately approve the budget. We think that's the most prudent thing to do and figure out, for next year going forward, what the reserves are, how we want to use it, how we want to invest it. So that's really how we're approaching that money, Patrick.
Okay, here's another question in here. There wasn't too many, and then actually a bunch of them was kind of just questions we asked already, but here's another one that's kind of unique. What do you see as the major strengths and weaknesses of amateur soccer in the United States? So I guess that means not necessarily U.S. adult soccer, but amateur soccer in general. What do you think of the strengths and weaknesses of U.S. amateur soccer here?
I think, let's put it this way, there's 3 million people playing adult amateur soccer, so I think it's a pretty strong program. I think the strengths and weaknesses are not so much in amateur soccer itself. I think each organization that runs amateur soccer programs, be it USASA, USSSA, the pub league down the street in Yonkers, each has their strengths and weaknesses. If I were to say probably one general weakness we have in this country, which you don't have so much, say, in like a Germany or a France, is we don't have one coordinated amateur system, one one system of one amateur group. For example, we have USSSA, we have UPSL, and we have USASA all in the adult council, but there's no coordination among us. We each have our own competitions. We're trying to get the Steinbrecher Cup back, by the way, which was a great competition between our organizations, but other than that, we don't have much. So there's that lack of coordination between the organizations, and in some cases, teams from one organization can't even play teams from another organization. I mean, obviously they can play each other, but not officially and be covered by insurance or anything else. And I think that's the weakness that we have in the U.S. with amateur soccer in general, that lack of cohesiveness, that lack of coordination, that lack of one organization.
Yes, actually, it's really funny that you answered it that way, because it's actually a couple of the other questions. I mean, one of them, I'm pretty much going to put them together now, because it makes sense to answer it as a single question. Someone did ask, how do we bring back the Hank Steinbrecher Cup? Which, for you guys wondering, and I didn't know this until about a Twitter conversation with our current president, John Mata, I found out that the Steinbrecher Cup is not run by U.S. Adult Soccer, but the Adult Soccer Council of U.S. Soccer. If that makes any sense, I guess it's like a committee above all of that.
So the way the federation is a very complicated and convoluted organization when it comes to its members. So within the federation, there's the youth council, the adult council, the professional council, and the athletes council. And we are USASA and several other members, USSSA and UPSL, are all part of the adult council. And so the adult council really, when I say runs, it's under the purview of the adult council. The actual running of it, the physical work of running it, has been done by USASA just because we have the manpower, but it's really under the umbrella of the adult council. We didn't run it last year. We didn't get the funding from the federation. For a lot of our members, for a lot of our elite teams, it's a very important cup. We have put in, the adult council has put in an Innovate to Grow fund to try to fund the Steinbrecher Cup. I would like to see, and again, it goes back to coordination among our various entities. I would like to see a bigger national amateur cup that involves more organizations, so we can really get back to what we had when it started out, the National Amateur Challenge Cup, where we picked to find the best amateur team in the country. Right now, the Steinbrecher Cup is about as close to that as we can get.
Well, I think the Steinbrecher Cup is great in the sense that it takes all these odd competing leagues really and puts them together into like a singular competition. Like I would almost apply that, and this is just my opinion, I would almost apply that on multiple levels of U.S. soccer, right? So like it's like, and this is outside of USA, I'm just chiming in a little bit. It's like there's like 3 different competing leagues in the third professional tier of U.S. soccer. Like there should be like a Steinbrecher Cup for that. I think while we're still not a unified organization, having a undisputed champion is a great idea. Not everyone agrees with that, but I really wish you guys luck on bringing back the Steinbrecher Cup in some form or another. Let's just go to the next question here, and I guess this kind of goes back to what we've been just kind of talking about. Yeah, there's this. I think everyone agrees that it's sort of confusing that in other countries, it seems like the federation just seems to have kind of just says you're the one official association for this tier. That's not really the case in U.S. in U.S. soccer. There is no official tier 4. But there seems to be so many competing organizations. I mean, how do we get into the process of consolidating these things? Like, does U.S. Adult Soccer have any say in getting USSF to say, all right, stop with all the fighting, let's work together and actually make a combined thing? Is there something that you as president could do?
I don't think it's something that I, as president of USASA, could do. I think it's difficult for the president of U.S. Soccer to do that. Obviously, I agree with you, Patrick. I think there needs to be more coordination, as you say, so we can't have one unified national champion on the amateur level. I think that's the role that the adult council needs to play. And again, it goes to, strategic partnerships and cooperation. We can't see ourselves always as competing, right? I mean, you have Shell stations and you have Exxon stations. They're always going to be around. Yeah, they compete, but
And always across the street from each other.
right, they're always across. But they know they got to work together, right? They belong to the same trade groups or whatever big petroleum is, And we have to do that as the adult council. We have to be that super organization. I don't mean super isn't great. I mean, obviously I want us to be great, but that overarching organization that really does more to bring the whole adult ecosystem together. I have to use that word ecosystem being a member of U.S. Soccer at least once every interview.
Well, ecosystem is just like, there was actually, I saw a meme earlier today. It talked about words that millennials and Gen Z use a lot, and ecosystem was one of them. So it's so you're already forward thinking in that sense,
Forward
right?
thinking, there we go.
So that's all the user submitted questions on the Google form. Do we have any callers coming in over there? Not really? Well, I mean, somebody just asked a question.
Do we have a question? Some written down question?
Yeah, I'm checking. So he was suggesting to ask on YouTube. I see one that actually popped up in a separate DM, and I'm going to keep this person anonymous. Why are leagues allowed to just keep popping up and get sanctioned by U.S. Adult Soccer rather than grow and improve the current ones we have and perhaps be more involved in the oversight in both management and the financial side?
Are we talking U.S. Soccer or U.S. Adult Soccer?
Okay, well, so it says specifically USASA. He says,
Okay.
yeah.
So, number one, we, by our bylaws and by the bylaws of the U.S. Soccer Federation, we can't really pick and choose who we want as our members, right? We can certainly set certain criteria for membership, like any membership organization, and we have that. And we have criteria in place that say what you need to submit, what you have to prove, what you have to show. But they can't be restrictive. I mean, we can't make it overly restrictive. The whole thing is to bring people into the family. That said, obviously there's a vested interest in making our members better, right? It's easier to keep the members you have and keep them happy than it is to bring in new members, because we've had the experience before where some of these leagues come in and the next year they fall apart. But we can't, under the federation bylaws, probably not by law, be overly restrictive on who we let in. All we can do, and I really want to work towards this, is helping the members that we do have when they need help, like I was talking about these registration systems, or some of these leagues who might need some help, to find out ways to help them.
Yes. So there actually is a question on YouTube. Sorry, I just kind of cut that off. I was just looking through the rest of the platforms. I guess and actually we do encourage people to ask questions in different parts. So somebody, Kevin Anderson asks, do you have plans to grow revenue via marketing to enhance, bolster, and grow U.S. adult soccer programs? Now, I did talk about before the show, and I thought that was really cool, that some sponsors have come into U.S. adult soccer before. You know the names of them. You could talk about that afterwards. But I guess the question here kind of builds onto that. How do we build and get more partnerships to build the programming and support system that U.S. adult soccer provides?
Okay, realistically, when we're looking at what I'll call money sponsorships, we have our apparel sponsorships like Capelli and things like that, and that's sponsorships in kind. We get uniforms, we get balls and things like that. Money sponsorships are really going to have to be tied to specific events. That's where a lot of these organizations, get their bang for the buck, like Anheuser-Busch, getting on board with the National Amateur Cup. Likewise, we can try to find somebody, if we have to go out for the Veterans Cup, for the Soccer Fest. That's where we're going to get some, and obviously that helps us, right? That brings in revenue. Now, sponsorship on the other level probably won't be so much cash sponsorship as it will be sponsorship to help us grow members in the sense of strategic partnerships. Something that I've been saying, Patrick, actually for the last probably 5 years or so or more, complementary strategic partnerships outside the soccer family. I've always used like a fitness center, right? there's a synergy there between soccer and fitness. There's no reason we shouldn't be going out and using that and promoting that and saying to something like like a Planet Fitness or something like that, where if you're a member of USASA, you get your first, month, or your second, maybe do it your second and third month, because it doesn't cost them as much, since most people don't go to the gym anymore after the first 2 months. You get them free if you're a member of USASA. How does that help? It helps USASA not just because we have something to offer for that membership fee, but also we could get promoted by piggybacking off of somebody like Planet Fitness. They might have a poster in all of their, locations saying, hey, look at the USASA promotion. Or when you go on their website, it might say something like, look at our USASA promotion. Right away, drawing people to USASA, thereby increasing our membership, thereby increasing our revenue. I think that really has to be the focus of that type of sponsorship.
Good. I think that wraps up all the questions that I saw online. I checked the 3 or 4 different platforms constantly. It doesn't look like anybody called in. What do you see over there? Not really? Okay, so I think we'll wrap it up with that. I think what we should do is maybe have you make a closing remark. So, just a closing remark to really sell yourself and why you should be president of U.S. Adult Soccer.
All right. Well, as I said before, I love this organization. I've been part of this organization for a long time. My family has been a part of this organization. People who know my family, know the background. As I said, I'm not gonna go here and spend the next 10 minutes telling you my soccer background. You can read all about it on the USASA website. You can go to the USSF website and look on the board of directors. It gives a brief blurb on me. You can look at my LinkedIn page. Again, shameless plug for my company. You can go to www.greyhawk.com and look at my professional bio. So you can find out all about me. Most of the people know me. As I have the experience, I have the competence, I have the skill set to get this job done, and I have the vision for this organization. So I'm asking people to support me, to vote for me, and I think you'll be very pleased at the changes you'll see. And I'll say this: I've not won every election that I ever ran in, but I'll say this: once I was in a position, I have never lost re-election. So I'm asking for your support. I'm asking for your vote, and I'm asking for your support after, so that together we can really make USASA live up to its full potential. And as I've always said, so when your letterhead says a proud member of USASA, that's really the truth. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you for having me here, and thank everybody out there who's listening to me and who will be listening to me over the course of the next couple days, because this is all recorded and will be available for everybody out there. Thank you.
Yep, and thank you. I want to thank sponsors of Logical, including Hudson Property Tax Reduction, Celtic General Contracting, and of course just the other people within the New Logical organization that do provide resources and monies. I want to thank Manolo Carriazo. He's been teaching me how to pronounce that properly over the last few months, for being of great help, and everybody else that's just been involved in this organization. And I want to thank the Cosmopolitan League for being a host on this and helping in any resources possible, getting this distributed across the soccer sphere. We're not making any official endorsements, although I do consider Fritz here a dear friend of mine. I do encourage everybody to keep involved in the U.S. adult soccer ecosystem, right? And keep paying attention to the upcoming convention. I think it's taking place in Dallas.
It's taking place in Frisco, Texas, outside of Dallas, yeah. And it starts a week from tomorrow.
Yeah. So that being said, I hope you guys have a great night. Thanks for tuning in, and take care.